Welcome back for another episode of Strive for 25. Joel Farrell here, and looking forward to sharing with you our guest today. Welcome to another episode of the Strive for 25 podcast. Joel Farrell here, and I have another guest from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Ryan Gray, and he is a real estate investor, and happy to have you on. And if you could just give us a little bit of a background and more about yourself.
Hey guys. My name is Ryan Gray. I'm from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I got connected with Joel from Catherine Lilly. So thanks, Catherine. So I own a company called Stable Living in Eau Claire. It's an assisted living company. We have 7 group homes now and take care of about 50 clients in the Eau Claire area, as well as I do some real estate investing stuff. Currently have about 156 units with my wife and some other partners.
That's awesome. So the assisted living and then the real estate side, which came first? What was the first step in your journey?
Yep. Yeah. So around, I guess, 2017, I met a friend and he was in the military with me, and we got a job at a group home in Eau Claire. Worked there for about a year and had a really bad boss and kind of wanted to change the industry, and went out and opened our own group home in 2017. So that was the first step. So
Holy smokes. So you were working as just a regular W-2 employee, and then were there for a period of time and then just decided to open your own thing. Like that's pretty badass.
yeah, no, yeah, we actually, had a really bad boss, and we basically just were like, dude, if you can do it, anybody can do it. So we ended up researching for months on end in college, and basically called the state and asked a bunch of questions and kind of opened our own with some other mentors and stuff. So
Okay. Holy crap. So what was the biggest barrier to entry, the biggest thing that you had to overcome or learn to get from that point, research and like actually making it a reality?
there's some bigger barriers to entry. One was being 21 years old and not being, I would say, like respected by the state. Actually, the lowest age you can open a group home in Wisconsin is 21. So we just hit the cutoff. So there are some barriers to entry and trainings that we had to take to be able to even do it. But a lot of it was just, we didn't have the knowledge, and we did a lot of research, and we actually hired a couple people to help us kind of get through that beginning process. And without those people, I don't think we would have made it. But there is a lot of, there's regulation within the industry, but it's more doable than you think. So.
Interesting. So the people that you brought on, were those people in the industry that were?
Yep. Yeah. So
Okay.
we had a family friend that was actually a special education teacher at local high school. So we had her come on and kind of help us understand a lot of the reporting and things like that. And then my business partner at the time, Sean Tudor, his girlfriend's mom ran group homes. So that was an awesome connection. She helped us kind of get through the paperwork side and get going. And without those connections, I don't know if we would have made it, but yep. So.
That's so cool. And that's kind of a big theme from the people we've had on the podcast previously, is leveraging the people, asking for help, and
Yep.
knocking down those doors and getting those warm connections and getting that help. So you started that in 2019. What year?
17.
So you started your own business in 2017.
Yep. So we got our first licensed group home right in the beginning of 2017, I believe. So.
Okay.
And now we have 7. So it's growing pretty fast.
So from a capital or a financing standpoint, how does all that stuff work in that field?
Yep. Yeah. So the house that we actually ended up getting licensed in is a group home, I guess, until this day, was my business partner's college house that he lived in, that his parents bought him with college roommates. So we kicked all those guys out and kind of went through the process of licensing. The state wants to see that you have 3 months of, I guess, operating funds to be able to run a group home in Wisconsin. And that was one nice thing, is, I guess, from an early age, I was a big saver. I always saved, a good portion of my income, which wasn't much at the time because I was in college, but I had the military and free college, so that helped a lot. But I think we had maybe $15,000 between the two of us that we kind of piled together, sold everything we had, and that was the proof that we needed to be able to open a group home. So
So you bought just a regular single family house? That's or what like how big of a house and what how many
yep.
bedrooms were in
So
it?
this one was a 3 bedroom. Most of our facilities are 4 bedroom houses just in the community. So we have 4 clients and then one caregiver in each home. But that house, it did have three, and we didn't even purchase the house at the time. So we rented it from Sean's parents. So you can rent the facility. They just have to basically sign a long enough lease to prove that, it's not gonna be changed, so.
So you're obviously your career has kind of evolved over the years, but and at some point when you're in your teens, did you ever envision yourself
No.
owning a assisted living facility?
Absolutely not. I always was interested, I guess, in that field, but no, not really. To be honest, my main goal was to be a police officer, and then I was actually collecting gym equipment at the time in my garage of my house. So I wanted to open a gym. So I was always like, I think I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I never had the avenue or, you know, didn't do it yet. But so.
That's awesome. So you will go from one facility to seven today. You mentioned the real estate stuff. Um, can you kind of explain that journey and where that started, where it came from, and how it evolved?
Yep. Yeah. So I guess as we were growing, I owned a single family house. So me and my wife bought our house when we were 18 years old. But through that time, we didn't really own any real estate and through probably the end of college. And I got asked to go to a Wiscoria event. It's a real estate event in Eau Claire by a friend, Dan Gearseth, who is also a realtor. And I went to that event and I was always interested in real estate, but the focus was the group homes at the time. And that was more active income. It's a business. It's not, passive. So I went to that event and kind of started listening, writing things down, got into bigger pockets. Um, and I would say kind of pretty much immediately, like the second meeting or third meeting, I started taking action on a lot of the stuff they were saying. So writing letters to seller or not sellers, but writing letters just to people with, distressed houses, tried to wholesale properties, do things like that, like immediately right away without having a clue what I was doing, which I think was kind of just due to the group homes coming, how it just kind of happened for me. So that's how I guess the real estate started. But
Well, I mean that's so interesting because starting something that you don't know a lot about, just someone talking about it or reading about it or whatever, and then actually going to do it. I mean, myself, I know kind of that analysis and by paralysis type of thing. I don't know what I'm doing. You research and research and research. The next thing you know, time goes by, and you haven't done anything. So to have that initiative, just go do it and like figure it out along the way. Like not everybody has that, but like I had to learn that in my own career. Like I had to figure that out. Just do it and not worry about it. So is that something
I
you're
would,
born with?
yeah, I would say I'm lucky in some sense, and like I'm very much quick to taking action on an idea. I would say like immediately if I get the idea, I want to like just run into the fire and go attack it. But Sean actually, and then my wife Eva, who's a CPA, they were more analytical. So I think having that combination, that partnership between me and Sean was perfect. I was very much, let's open a group home. Let's go. Hey, let's go to the real estate event. Like, let's just try this stuff. Let's try to flip a house. And he was the one that kind of went through the process with me and I mean, made it happen, I would say in some sense, and backtracked and helped make good decisions. But I've always kind of been born with let's just go try it and see what happens later, which is, I mean, a good trait in business sometimes, but can bite you too. So,
Yep. So, the listeners on this podcast, the 1, 2, 5, 7 people out there, I don't know how many are out there. But the people are coming from different parts of the country because that's my network. It's different parts of the country, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, etc. And some of the best investors that I've seen are identifying areas that are decent enough demand, but the prices are not necessarily like the biggest metro areas, or on the outskirts, or then in smaller towns in a state. And I have a buddy of mine that was just on, I guess, the last week, and we both live in St. Louis, Missouri, not like the most expensive market in the country. But there are parts of St. Louis that are pretty damn expensive. And, he was able to scale his units in Illinois across the river. So Alton, Grafton, a couple other areas. And so, picking up multis, for half the price that you would in St. Louis. And so, you don't have to be in the most expensive areas to make it make sense to be able to have the demand. So, different parts of the country are going to be, it's all relative. But for the audience out there, can you kind of give us an example of, the properties you've acquired? Where did you start your journey in terms of price points?
Yep. Yeah. So I guess the first house I bought was kind of before this last little bit of a boom, I would say, in the last couple of years. So I bought that house, which really helped, which was just a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and that was $66,000, which is not normal in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. But I would say the normal purchase price for a duplex to triplex in Eau Claire is around that $200,000 mark. I would say a little bit higher maybe right now, but um, I really just tried to focus on, I guess, off market properties and really getting like direct to the seller. Um, I would say in Wisconsin, we do have appreciation like the last few years, but I would say, I mean, we are a cash flow market. Like if you're not cash flowing, that's concerning. And so,
So that duplex that you can get for maybe 200K, what type of rents
yep.
maybe be possible?
Yeah, I guess if you're buying, I would say strictly off like the MLS through a realtor, I would say it's hard to hit that 1% rule. So $2,000 in rent for a $200,000 purchase price, that's pretty hard to hit. I would say you can get pretty close off the MLS. I would say, I mean, $1,800 for $200,000 purchase price is probably common. I guess for me, with the direct to seller stuff, I try to always beat the 1% rule no matter what is kind of the goal. So,
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, going off market versus off the MLS, right? I mean, that's the key, for the best investors is getting out there and doing it. Now, the average person that doesn't have necessarily the time, full-time job, et cetera, any advice for that person that would want
yeah.
to invest?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it takes a ton of time to do that. I mean, if you're looking for, let's say, one property this year, and that's like your primary goal is I want to get one cash flowing property. I mean, just tell the people around you what you're doing, what you're looking for. Hey, I'm looking for rental property. If you know anyone, can you just let them know I'm looking? Connecting with a few realtors, kind of let them know what you're looking for. I guess those would be the top two. I would say, if there's some properties you're interested in, don't be afraid to send a letter. And, I have some friends that send about 5 letters a week, and that's their goal is to send 5. So if you do that throughout the year, you're going to get one good property. I mean, so.
And that's the thing too, is, the biggest limiting factor that I see from my mortgage hat, on my day job is people being able to buy houses is having the capital, the cash to be able to do so. And in one of our previous conversations, I think, in your area, you guys have a local lender, commercial lender, et cetera, that can do 10% down, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, yeah, that lender in particular in Eau Claire has definitely helped scale. I'd say for anyone like listening, I wouldn't get stuck on, I guess you are a lender, but don't get stuck on one lender. Like, call around and, ask what they have going on, ask what the rate is, ask what they can help with. I would say a lot of lenders, they have certain things that they're good at in some sense. I have that lender that's 10% down, but let's say the rate's a little bit higher, that might not be within your goals. So you're okay with putting 20% down and finding a little better rate, or, you find a lender that's quicker, that closes quickly or works really well, and is organized. Like they all have something, and, so call around and kind of get that help. So.
Yeah, definitely. Just continuing to research, having conversations, getting advice, getting referrals. That's so key. Building your network.
Yeah.
From a scaling standpoint. So, you mentioned you bought a house for 66,000, and then it evolved from there. So what's the kind of the broad picture of how have things kind of evolved as you've gone down the road there?
Yeah, on the real estate side, I guess, I mean, even 2 years ago, I don't know my unit count or whatever, but I think I was at that, 12 to 15 units about 2 years ago. primarily they were group homes, and I owned a triplex and maybe 2 duplexes at the time. And I guess the last year or two, I got connected with, went to a conference, Logan Rakin, kind of shouting him out, as well as some other conferences, and kind of gotten hooked on creative financing. So just having that in my toolbox for bigger deals, because I do make good income with the assisted living business, but if I put 10% down even on every deal, I would not have 156 units, that's for sure. So I would say that creative finance, but like recently I bought a 40 unit, which I would say is my best deal yet, right after that conference. And ended up putting 0% down, in the bank financed 90%, and I got a owner second on 10%, and it was 40 units. So like, those are kind of the things that are possible, I guess, once you have those tools and you have a network. So
Okay. So 0% down.
yeah, I think I actually got $72,000 at closing wrote to me, which was property taxes, rents,
Okay. Okay.
a couple other little things, but which was the coolest thing ever.
So why would a seller do that?
Yeah. On this deal, so she was asking, I guess, $2 million for the 40 unit. And I basically said, yeah, I could do it, but I would need help with the second. And I guess back in her time, about 20 years ago, that's how she had purchased the 40 unit. So back then they did that stuff a lot more often. So that helped. Obviously, she was aware and understood the process. And a lot of those bigger, commercial sellers or mom and pop owners, they understand creative finance, 'cause I think they did it a lot more back then. As well as, I guess, she still got, full asking. So she got 1.8 million at closing, and basically she's still getting that 200,000, but it's over time. And I mean, it does help with taxes a little bit. So,
Okay. So the actual deed transfer, how does that work?
so I guess from my understanding is it's still transferred over at closing. She's just in second position. So the lender, I mean, is still in first position. So if I default on their loan, they would get the property first back. But if I default on her loan, but I'm still making payments to the bank, she could take the property back. That's my understanding of it.
Got it.
But
Got it. Okay. Okay. So that's right. So you did a traditional bank loan, and then they were okay with having the second on top. Okay,
yep.
cool. And that's the thing that, I mean, I'm not an expert on seller financing, but there's a lot of different ways that people can kind of cut that
Yep.
that cake, so to speak. And if it's free and clear, there's a way to do it. If there's a mortgage out there already, um, you know, paying that person's mortgage and maybe doing additional things. And so definitely seeing a lot more creative things as rates have gone up and prices are still kind of hovering. So, you know, in your world, I mean, I think you're pretty well known in your area for the business acumen that you bring to the table. I mean, um, if you were going to give advice to the next person, regardless of where they are on their journey, and they wanted to be able to, you know, build that type of entrepreneurial spirit and build a portfolio or build a business. Because you've done both of that, you built a business and a real estate portfolio. What does it take? What's the mindset it takes to be able to go down that path?
Yeah. I mean, I would say step one is, I mean, focus on money management. I think that's kind of that first step that everyone, I mean, if you want to open a business, you're into real estate, you have to understand what you're spending and what you're bringing in. And I mean, that nest egg, I think, kind of gives you the ability to take, risks and action on businesses as well as real estate. So I mean, I would say that's kind of step one. And I would say, do the research and kind of figure out what you want to do within business. But once you kind of find something and you can make money in it, even though it's not, as much as you're making at your job or whatever it is, don't be afraid to, I guess, just go take action and try it. I would say, I mean, my biggest learning lessons were failing. I mean, failing and digging myself out for sure were like the biggest learning experiences. I mean, it wasn't Google, that's for sure. So yeah.
Can you share an example of that going backwards in
Well,
time?
holy man. I mean, going back from like day one, we had a survey, which is like an inspection for our first group home. There was kind of there's like a checklist of all the things you need to have. And they went through it and we passed everything. And then they kind of asked us a bunch of questions about like the service plans for our clients or other things that aren't on that checklist, but you still need to have a group home. and they were using acronyms. And I remember asking them about an acronym. It was ISP, which stands for Individual Service Plan. And me and my partner looked at each other and we're like, we don't know what that is. And that's like the basics, like just the paperwork on the client and like what they need. And we basically, I mean, they looked at us like we were crazy, and we basically just told them, hey, give us 2 weeks and we'll have one ready for you. And we basically just backtracked and, made it happen. But at the time, I mean, we didn't even know what the most basic thing it is to open a group home. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So you just inserted yourself into the position, knowing and having the confidence that you're going to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is,
Basically.
which is, easier said than done for so many.
Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah. So when you look at this, I mean, you're in your later 20s, you got a business that's doing well, planning for the future. What are some of the next goals, the next visions of where you want this to go?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I do want to focus majorly on stable living. I have huge real estate goals, but I would say stable living is kind of the thing I care about it the most, and I do want to grow it. I think kind of assisted living in general, there's a lot of opportunity, but I also would say the industry isn't great. I think the care could be a lot better within the group homes. So I want to grow that, I guess, as big as possible. I don't really have a, amount of group homes or facilities that we want to own, but basically just create as much impact as possible. I would say on the real estate side, same. I would say, I mean, I'd like to be at 300 to 400 units in the next 2 years. And after that, kind of see where it goes. But I would say I'm more kind of about the journey than having big goals. So I enjoy the struggle sometimes. So
Yep. I get it. I get it. The game, the
yeah.
process, the facilities, right? You mentioned like some of the care isn't always the best. I don't really know a whole lot about that industry per se. But can you share some of the things that you've seen that people are struggling with, whether it be on the business side or the actual client side? What are some of the things that are going on in the industry?
Yeah, I guess group homes in general, I mean, there are a lot of good providers in our area, and I would say around, I mean, in Wisconsin in general, but the funding is pretty low, I guess. There's definitely money to be made if you're a good money manager, but the funding is lower. So a lot of the pay for the caregivers, I mean, we're still in that $13 to $15 an hour mark. So it's tough to find really good staff, and a lot of people struggle with that. So the staffing ratio per clients is low, which means you can't keep up with what they truly need. Um, and I would say a lot of people open them for the wrong reasons, and then they just don't provide the quality of care that, I mean, they deserve. A lot of these individuals that are in the homes, it's government funded. So there's not always someone like a guardian that's keeping a close eye on them within other group homes, and the care sometimes is just not great. So
Cool. So are the majority of them government funded? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, most of them are. There are some privately funded ones. We take them mostly through Inclusa, which is an organization that manages the funding in Wisconsin. So I would say the goal too, I guess, would be to open some larger facilities at some point, maybe a nursing home or something like that. But we have a lot of learning to do first. So
Cool. I mean, are there larger facilities in your area?
yep. Yeah, which is kind of shocking is people kind of, I mean, even people locally, when I say I own group homes in Eau Claire, they're like, there's group homes in Eau Claire. They just don't even know. And I don't know the exact amount, but there's a lot of them. There's probably 70 or 80 in Eau Claire, and our city's around 70,000 people. And those are just the 3 to 4 bed facilities. So there's 5 to 16 beds, which are CBRFs. It's certified based residential facility, I believe. And then there's another category, which is, the nursing home type or, dementia care centers. And there's different categories. So
Interesting. So yeah, I'm going to go backwards in time. How the heck did you buy a house at 18? You got a credit score at 18?
gosh, I don't even, to be honest, I think my wife was the one that kind of qualified. So I'm 18 and my wife's 19. We both joined the military when we were really, I guess we were 17, I believe, when we joined the National Guard. Um, And how we qualify, that's a good question, because I remember we were submitting for rent ads for like a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartment. And we were getting denied because we had, we didn't have much money coming in because I think we both had part-time jobs. We were in the guard. And we ended up just going to a lender and basically, filling up the application and seeing what would happen. And we got approved. But I think I'm trying to remember how we necessarily did it, but we both had, enough for a down payment of 3 to 5%. So that helped. But how we got qualified, I honestly don't remember. But
So at that time, you both only had part-time jobs
yeah, I don't think either of us had a full-time job. We did go through basic training. So we went through 3 or 4 months of training in the military, which was full-time income. So I don't know if that helped us qualify. It must have.
Was it a credit union or a bank or a mortgage company? Do
It
you
was a
recall?
credit union. Yeah, it
Okay.
was a credit union.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I asked that's kind of what I expected you to say, because at the end of the day, they're just like buying a car. There's a lot of different options out there and companies you can buy a car from. Same thing in the lending industry. There's a lot of different types of companies you can buy, get your financing from. Credit unions are going to be probably your most flexible, creative, less guideline sensitive, less fitting in the box, where like your traditional bigger banks are going to be more, hey, you got to fit these certain requirements, and
Yep.
if you don't fit in, then you're kind of stuck and not going to get approved. So
Yep.
very, very interesting. So at the end of the day, you buy a property at 18, and that's one of the things that we talk about is time, allowing time and compounding to work for you as opposed to against you. And most of the people that I know, they bought their houses much later in life. And I think I bought mine like 27, 26, whatever,
Yep.
and whatever. So pretty badass getting in at 18. And you said that was 66,000?
Yeah, that was, I think, 66,000. I would say that was my wife. That one wasn't me. I was just following along for the ride at the time, but yeah.
Cool. And at this point in time, probably worth a lot more than that.
Yeah, I would say I paid 66. I would guess it's probably worth 140 now, so that's a big one. Yeah. And we still
Awesome.
own that house, and we're not going to ever sell it probably, so we're pretty proud of it.
That's awesome. That's all. And that's the thing is that, I purchased a couple 4 families in 2017 here in St. Louis. And, I didn't have a mentor. I was just kind of reading books and talking to some people and just kind of just trying to figure it out on my own. And, those two, 4 families have pretty much already doubled in value, which again, that no one can predict the markets, right? But the trend history of real estate is that markets go up. Even in recessions, values go up. The exception is the 08, 09 crash, where, hey, the recession was caused because of the housing issues with the financing.
Yep.
So, time, working for you as opposed to against you, values going up, appreciation, and renters paying your mortgage balance down, the amortization, that combined gain is your equity. And then, in your journey, have you used any equity to acquire any other properties, or just rocking and rolling with paying stuff down?
I guess I've never done a refinance, but I've jumped, I guess, a couple of houses, which have really helped as well. So I bought that 2 bedroom house, and we ended up renting that. But we bought a house in between the house we're in now, actually. And that house, I think we bought it for like 230, 240. And we had 5 roommates, house hacked the heck out of the thing. And we ended up selling it, I guess, last year. So we owned it for 3-4 years. And I think we made like 150,000 when we sold. So that chunk of money also really helped, which we didn't have to pay taxes on it either. So yeah, that helped. But other than that, I don't think we've refinanced. We've sold a thing or two, and I've done wholesaling and flipping. So that helped that money, funneling that into other deals. So, but I do think it's going to really change 10 years from now and stuff is paid off. I can't imagine the opportunities when you do have equity in all these properties and stuff, but
yeah, you might be building your own facility at some point. Who knows?
that'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the nursing home side of things, where now you've got the single units, 3 or 4 bedroom properties. How does that fit together? At what point do you hit the next step with a nursing home per se? What's the barrier?
So I mean, it is a bigger barrier. There is a lot more regulation with the larger facilities. So recently, I guess, so I own 80% of my company, Stable Living, and I have my best friend, Cody Anderson. He owns 20%. He kind of operates the business now. He actually went to the 3-week course that kind of outlines exactly how to open those larger category facilities. And he took it all and basically just soaked it in. But it is, I mean, there's a lot more regulation. So just kind of learning it all. I think, if we jumped into it, we would be successful, but we want to make sure it's at the right time. And the financials, I mean, we could afford it right now, but we just kind of step by step. I think in the next, I would say 2 to 3 years, we'd like to at least open a 8 to 16 bed facility would probably be that next step. So yeah.
So running the business from a systems and software standpoint, I mean, any advice you give to somebody from a, operations standpoint, how do you guys manage that on the back end in terms of the numbers?
I guess just you're saying systems in general, basically just within a business or
Yeah, I mean, like, QuickBooks or a different type of
yeah.
operating system. Like, what are some of the things that you guys use from a back end?
Yep. Yeah, no, so we do have QuickBooks involved in my wife. She does all our, invoicing, receipts, taxes and that stuff. But I mean, we started off with just, like creating our schedules on a piece of paper and texting them out to our staff. I mean, very, very low level, not tracking the training that we took and just having certificates all over the place in a filing cabinet. Like that's kind of how we started. But now I mean, we have When I Work, which basically does all our scheduling and stuff. It's just an app, which I would recommend, I guess, anybody that has staff at some point. And you can kind of see like they have to clock into work and clock out and things like that. But we have a virtual assistant that helps with a lot of our tracking. So we do use like Excel still for a lot of our, trainings and a lot of, keeping track of when our ISPs are updated and all our, book words updated and stuff like that. And just we have Excel tracking forms. And yeah, I would say just make sure to have everything kind of backed up too with 2 spots because we've lost a lot of things over the years too.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. So you mentioned, but you also mentioned virtual assistant that does
yep.
some help there. How did you
Yeah.
get into that? And is that easy? Is it challenging to get them up and running?
Yeah, so we have one virtual assistant right now. I think we got her 2 years ago. And what is it? I think Dan Gearseth, the realtor, actually recommended me Justin Nelson with Spear Rocket, which is basically a company that helps interview and find virtual assistants, so you don't have to do that whole process. So we basically just signed up for one and wanted to try it out because I mean, you pay them around $3 to $5 an hour versus like the traditional, office assistant, $17 an hour. I would say the training and stuff it is difficult since they're obviously over the computer, but a lot of them are speak English really well and they learn really quickly and they're all like college educated. So if you have tasks that you can implement, I would say that you don't need to be in person for, I would try it out, So I would say the outreach too for like my off market property stuff that I do like cold calling, texting, things like that. I utilize her for too. So, if you're a bigger investor, even, I think there's Fiverr, I think it's another company you can pay someone by the hour. Like I would
Yeah.
try it. So depends where you're at, but they're easy to set up. I know a lot of realtors actually use them too. So
Yeah. I mean, I've come across a couple of realtors that have started their own VA businesses and
yeah.
that's doing well. And so that definitely is a booming industry, it seems like. So that's awesome. Any other words of wisdom or advice that you may pass on to that next, aspiring person that's sitting in their 9 to 5 job and trying to find a way to be able to work on their dream?
Yeah. I would say, I mean, I would just really just try to kind of, write down what you kind of want in life and look at your goals. And I mean, I like that whole, like the stair step method of, trying to go from 1 property to 2 properties to 4 properties in some sense. And, really like set a goal every year and, write down action steps on how you're going to get there. I mean, that's the big thing for me. And I would say for real estate investors, especially right now with the market changing, I would look into like Pace Morby and Creative Finance, really look into that. Cause I think that's a really big tool for someone that does want to grow quickly because, not everyone has a bunch of money sitting there. 20% down is a lot of money, even if you make six figures. So, and kind of, I would say right now with the recession, well, maybe a recession is kind of get that buy box kind of set up. What are you looking for and what your numbers have to be? Because with the interest rates changing, your numbers are changing with every rate hike we have. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned write it down and look at your goals, right? And, there's, I know myself, like, you have chaos of life happening, all things that are being thrown at you. It's easy to get distracted. So I've got a process that I do in the mornings, that keep me on track. But like, what about yourself? Like, do you have a process or, something you do regularly when it comes to that kind of stuff?
no, not an everyday process, I guess, but I have, I guess, my yearly and monthly goals just on a whiteboard, I guess, right in front of my desk. So when I look up every day, I have to look at them. Um, and then usually I try to go through every goal every month and just kind of break down like the action steps on what I have to do to get there. Just because a goal without action steps, I mean, how are you going to do it? So I think that's the big thing is breaking it down and then just setting up a schedule and when are you going to do that stuff? So.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. When you map out the year, right? 5 months, 6 months, middle of the year, what's the next major accomplishment, next goal you're trying to be able to get to that we can check back in on yet?
Yeah, no, I guess for the assisted living business, we want to open, I guess, two more facilities, I would say in the next 6 months. And then we want to double our in-home care side of the business. So add another 25 clients on that side. And then the real estate business, I guess I don't have a 6-month goal, but I guess next year I'd like to add another, I would say 100 units, but I haven't actually went through my 2023 goals yet with the wife on the real estate side because she manages all our units. So I got to make sure she's agreeable. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean it's so interesting. So my wife, she's a counselor. She's got a private practice. She doesn't really have a business bone in her body. I mean, we talk about stuff all the time, and she gets it for the most part. But it's not something that she, you know, loves to do. And some people like yourself, you have that kind of, growing in the same direction, so to speak. I mean, what's dinner? What's dinner like? When you're talking
oh,
about being in the same business.
oh man. To be honest, we do talk about business a lot, but a lot of the times by dinner time we're just taking care of the kid and trying to focus on the family. I would say we do talk a lot about business together, and sometimes it's a problem. So, um, but no, yeah, I mean it mixes all together. But we do try to, sometimes it's family time and sometimes it's business time. So, and
Yeah.
we're a good pair. She's very analytical and really smart, and I'm let's go do things. So, yeah. What type of counseling does the wife do?
So she's dealing with people with anxiety, some relationship issues, substance abuse is a big thing. She works with some higher end business owners that are just dealing with stuff as well. And she can't talk about a lot of stuff. I get the higher end of stuff that's going on sometimes here and there, just like, hey, the types of things that people are dealing with, anxiety and some of the medicine stuff that people get into and et cetera. It's, I think yesterday she had 7 or 6 clients, and I just can't even imagine like being that dialed in for that
Yeah,
many hours in a row, just going, and she was exhausted. But that's the thing is that like, I'm going and I'm going, I'm getting up with the kids early, work, pick up the kids at, 5, she's still working. And then I'm usually working, a couple hours a night. And I
yeah,
had to kind of just learn my own new schedule and work off of 5 hours of sleep. And then this is my, my coach, David Linsmeyer with Southwestern Consulting, by the way. Balance, if you have big goals, balance is a myth. It's a, you have different seasons is the words he uses. And right now I'm gonna growth season. I'm trying to build a platform to help that everyday person, know that there's a way to be able to build wealth. And at some point in time, I can kind of turn it, maybe less on growth and more on autopilot and have more time. But like right now, I'm going,
yeah,
18 hours a day, and that's just the way it is, and I'm okay with that right now.
yeah,
But yeah. But my wife,
yeah,
she loves what she does. She definitely loves what she does. So
yeah. The industry always interested me, so I just was wondering. We bring a lot of our clients to counseling, and they have therapy and stuff. So I just was kind of wondering, but Yeah, dude, I agree with the grind stuff. So that's kind of just part of it, I feel like. But I think, when you're doing family time, it's family time. And when you're in grind time, it's grind time. That's what I try to do. Now, am I good at it? Probably not. But yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, one of the things that, there's so many people out there that aren't saving money, right? So many people that have a dream to get into whatever passion or job or build a business or whatever, and then they're stuck. They just haven't taken the next step to do that. I was talking to a banker, Commerce Bank in Clayton, Missouri, and I was waiting for a couple of things. We were just talking, and podcasts came up, and side hustles came up, and she's got 2 jobs that she does. She goes from one job to the next, and she's got a third thing she does like one day a week or whatever. And she's like, they're just paying us to forget our dreams, right? I'm like, holy shit.
mm-hmm.
Like there's some truth to that. I mean, maybe not intentionally, but like at the end of the day, a lot of these companies, they need people to be able to do the job, right? But like, that doesn't mean that you have to do that forever. Maybe you use that to be able to fund your life or to be able to carve out time to be able to build the business on the side. And it's like some people, the pain of their situation is great enough, is greater than the pain of the change. And so then they take that next step. But so many people, they're stuck, right? And maybe they're in that equilibrium or they're comfortable with where they are. And, I don't know, like that's just like, here we are talking about this stuff, and someone may hear this and maybe they're at that point where like, hey, I do want to do XYZ, but I don't know how, I don't know when, or I can't do it, or they doubt themselves and whatever. You can't make somebody do something. They have to want to do it themselves. And so in your opinion, I mean, like talking about helping the next person try to, take themselves and build something bigger for themselves. Like, what are your thoughts on that? How can we help the next person?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing is kind of, don't let your dreams die for anybody, like still, I think dreaming and having goals in general is, that's the biggest thing, is kind of having that, writing it down. But, yeah, I think keeping that dream alive and just kind of taking action on anything that you want to do in life, and just kind of just making sure you force yourself to go do things. So, and there is a way out. I think real estate, to be honest, is one of those things where if you have the tools, anybody can get out, it might take you a long time, and if you don't have money right now and your credit sucks, but at some point, if you understand real estate and money management and learn those things, you don't need to, work your life away. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I mean, that for me, real estate's been a huge thing to help me get ahead. And, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and no one really taught me this stuff. But like, the biggest thing that I had to learn, and it's obvious, but like just time, like buying a property today and then buying the next one. Like I couldn't think 10 years down the road. I was thinking about, the date I was going to go on, or how I was going to pay the next bill, or I was thinking such short term. And then we're both that way, right? I mean, we're built, from our hardware is built from, I was talking about this, posted something on this today, actually, on Instagram. Like, our hardware is built for the next meal. Like, we want immediate gratification, right?
Yeah.
Like that next meal, life or death. And so to work on something for 3 years or 2 years or 1 year and not see the immediate results, it's not in our DNA. And so, like, if we can figure that out, and there's ways to do it, and that's not what this podcast is about. But if you can figure that out, that's just going to put you down the right path of trying to reach that goal.
Yeah, that's why, for me at least, real estate was so cool, because like, putting money into a 401k or putting money into IRA and thinking long term, you don't get to enjoy anything, right now, where, with real estate, as soon as you buy a property, okay, you do lose the money of the down payment potentially if you put a down payment down, but you do get cash flow right away. So you get that, you do get some instant gratification. You do get to take the picture and post it on Facebook. I bought a duplex. And to be honest, a lot of those things, you should take pride in it, and it is immediate, where that's why, part of it, why real estate is enjoyable for me is, if I want to stop doing what I'm doing and change, I still have some passive income coming in. Could I necessarily retire completely just off my real estate today and do everything I wanted to? No, but in some sense I have freedom, so.
Totally. So, and that's the thing, is that like, talking about some of the different markets out there, like if you can't make it work in your market, it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do it in a lot of different markets in Indiana, in Illinois, in Iowa, Nebraska. I mean, like just no name cities, but like people are doing it. And it's just a matter of trying to find the
Yeah.
contacts and find the resources and start making connections. But anyway, we're kind of running out of time, but this is good stuff. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
Assisted living. I just can't even 21 years old opening up your own assisted living facility. That's just bonkers. Absolutely
Yeah. It
bonkers.
was scary.
All
Yeah. But
right. So we'll have to actually again, I'm so sorry. I didn't do this earlier. Again, where can people find you online?
yeah, I guess so. We have a website for our business, which is just stablelivingllp.com. And then the only, I guess, social media that I have right now is Instagram. So it's just Ryan. I think it's _Jason_Gray, Gray. So
Yeah, and we'll post these links below as well.
awesome.
And thanks again for taking time out of your day to come join us, and looking forward to having you on again down the road. And cheers to an unbelievable 2023.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.